continuation of the previous episode where Gang Yi managed to catch Hai Jin, and Hai Jin was immediately arrested. Of course, with this, Gang Yi will take revenge on Hai Jin, because Hai Jin was the one who got Gang Yi expelled from the Dongchen organization. Gang Yi, who has a personal grudge against Hai Jin, takes all his targets out on Hai Jin. But instead of being afraid, Hai Jin challenges Gang Yi to a duel again. And then Gang Yi stabbed Hai Jin in the leg. After a vicious stab, Gang Yi turned the knife and confronted Hai Jin. Then Gang Yi called his subordinate, who turned out to be picked up by Mu Jin. Gang Yi happily took a photo of Hai Jin and sent it to Mu Jin and told Mu Jin to come quickly before he could only see Hai Jin or Jai Wu's corpse. As seen, Mu Jin, who had been stabbed in the stomach, was not in good condition, but he still drives to save Jai Wu. Meanwhile, Pildu and Hai Jin have been handcuffed in a car and put in a crusher. Both of their panics became even worse when the car wrecker moved. With time running out, Hai Jin managed to sneak out of the car, but not with Pildu because Pildu's hands were still handcuffed and still trapped in the car. While he was panicking, luckily Mu Jin arrived there on time. He immediately crashed his car into the control machine used to stop the crushing machine. They were all safe. Hai Jin was a little surprised by Mu Jin's chaotic arrival, but at that moment the police siren sounded. Hai Jin also managed to save Pildu before it was too late, and Mu Jin managed to leave before the police arrived. When Captain Cha Gi-ho and the others arrived, they started to see the black car hitting the engine controls and started to get suspicious. Injured Mu Jin manages to return to his base. Ti-ju looks unhappy knowing that Mu Jin sacrificed himself to save Hai Jin. But Mu Jin gets emotional and challenges Ti-ju because he remembers what Hai Jin said, saying that Ti-ju might be a traitor to the organization. Mu Jin also asked what he had done to make himself trustworthy, and Ti-ju can only silently apologize. At the hospital, Pildu talks about his trustworthiness as he decides to trust his partner Hai Jin completely. He even shouted at Cha Gi-ho and asked him to immediately arrest Gang Yi, who almost killed his colleague. Hai Jin also underwent surgery and was lying in hospital. Because a request for pills like that certainly made Captain Cha Gi-ho confused, he had to talk to his superiors, and his superior ordered him to look for Gang Yi first. A big plan was carried out by the drug control team, because they are now assigned to carry a gun and look for Gang Yi. He interrogates his subordinate Gang Yi and tries to find out Gang Yi's whereabouts. Now the Mu Jin organization and the drug officers are both determined to get Gang Yi first. The police team is currently deploying a large number of troops to search for Gang Yi. They were ordered to go to places such as bars and search CCTV. Because Gang Yi was hard to find, Mango was ambushed by Pildu to make it easier for them to find Gang Yi. At the same time, Ti-ju increases his efforts to find Gang Yi. He interrogated Gang Yi's subordinates, but because his subordinates did not refuse to answer, he was killed immediately. Due to the lack of information about Gang Yi, Ti-ju went to the nearest bar location. Seeing Ti-ju's efforts to find Gang Yi, so Mu Jin melted and invited him to eat together. He also told Ti-ju to just wait for the movement of the drug officers, because it was certain that if Gang Yi was cornered, he would appear by himself. When Hai Jin woke up, she saw Du's pills there, and he talked about his little sister. It turns out that Pildu's younger sister also died because of drugs. This happened because someone put drugs on his younger sister, so that made her die. This explains why he is so adamant about doing the right thing in narcotics cases. He doesn't know who is responsible, but he is determined to catch as many drug dealers as possible and bring them to justice. Pildu also knows about Hai Jin's past from her file at the police station, and because of that, Pildu remains determined to help Hai Jin. Furthermore, Pildu and Hai Jin's relationship gets closer. Pildu even took Hai Jin home and invited her to eat with a team of drug officers. But without them realizing it, Ti-ju is stalking Hai Jin. He took a photo and sent it to Mu Jin and told him that Hai Jin was still alive. Later at his office, Mu Jin decides to give Hai Jin a ticket to leave the country and leave the police force. This is because it is very dangerous if Gang Yi is caught and reveals Hai Jin's identity. However, Hai Jin did not agree. She refused because her goal had not yet been achieved. Mu Jin was angry and asked Hai Jin to follow his instructions and leave Korea. On the other hand, Captain Cha Gi-ho increases his efforts to find evidence that Hai Jin or Jai Wu is Mu Jin's spy. And he also assigned his subordinates to tap Hai Jin's phone for all incoming and outgoing calls. And Hai Jin's location will be monitored from now on. Next, at the police station, Hai Jin met the police who used to stalk her when she was still at school. The policeman's name was Sergeant Cho. In front of the others, he admitted that he recognized Detective Hai Jin when he was in the Violent Crimes Department. But Hai Jin wasn't so sure. Then in the room, Cha Gi-ho and Sergeant Cho described Jai Wu, Dong Hun's daughter, and how she disappeared at that time. Sergeant Cho remains silent about the truth he knows about Cha Gi-ho. Meanwhile, while Mu Jin is looking for a house for Jai Wu, Ti-ju reports to Mu Jin that Sergeant Cho has now met Cha Gi-ho. At the police station, when Hai Jin met him outside the building, he quickly recognized that Jai Wu was Hai Jin, Dong Hun's daughter. He also said that the Dong Hun murder case was closed by Captain Cha Gi-ho. Meanwhile, Sergeant Cho went to the pier and asked Mu Jin about what he was doing with Hae-jin. He scoffs and says that Mu Jin is a devil. Sergeant Cho has also been a spy all this time because he is also an addict. Because Sergeant Cho kept babbling and wanted to reveal Hae-jin's true identity. Jai-woo, Sergeant Cho tried to blackmail Mu Jin by asking him for drugs. But now Mu Jin is sure that he must silence Sergeant Cho forever because it is certain that Sergeant Cho will be an obstacle to them in the future. This time Sergeant Cho was killed and thrown into the water. As the film continues, a massive manhunt is launched to try and find Gang Yi by broadcasting advertisements everywhere. Pil-do and his colleagues now capture Gang Yi's subordinates. He also told them to call Gang Yi right away and ask where he was. Then, Hae-jin took the initiative to come over to Mango to ask where Gang Yi was. Mango also refuses to give information, but Hae-jin threatens to tell Mu Jin that Mango was one of the perpetrators of the attack yesterday. Hearing this made Mango afraid and made him mentally affected, and finally, he revealed Gang Yi's plan. In her home, Hae-jin calls and tells Mu Jin that Gang Yi escaped by a boat overseas. It's just that before he ran away, Gang Yi called Captain Cha Gi-ho and decided to give them information. He knows the police want to arrest Mu Jin, so he wants freedom in return. Back to Mu Jin, who finally decided to step in and brush do Gang Yi himself. Tae-ju tries to prevent it because it's probably just a trap. But here, Mu Jin emphasizes that he believes in Hae-jin because he tried to save her. Finally, Tae-ju couldn't say anything anymore. Then Mu Jin forbade Tae-ju to join in the brawl with him, because Mu Jin still hopes that Tae-ju can manage his business if something bad happens to him. It turns out that Mu Jin shows his friendship even though his trust in Tae-ju is starting to wane, but Tae-ju is still the most trusted person in his organization. Then comes the day of the meeting between gangster Gang Yi and gangster Mu Jin. According to Gang Yi's information to Captain Cha Gi-ho, the police were also ready there to arrest Mu Jin and Gang Yi. Meanwhile, Gang Yi, who had been waiting at the port, then Mu Jin and the others appeared. These two gangs look very busy. However, without them realizing it, they were surrounded by police officers. This operation was led directly by Captain Cha Gi-ho, and a fight between these two gangs ensued. As you can see, from this fight, Mu Jin's gang is superior. Seeing the increasingly chaotic situation, Gang Yi chose to run away. Mu Jin saw this. Immediately, Mu Jin chased him. And at the same time, Captain Cha Gi-ho saw the two of them chasing each other. After seeing Mu Jin and Gang Yi separated from their gang, Captain Cha Gi-ho ordered them all to go in and arrest Mu Jin and Gang Yi's men. Meanwhile, Captain Cha Gi-ho followed the two of them upstairs. Now, Gang Yi moves away and takes Mu Jin to a place above the construction hanging up there. Meanwhile, Hae-jin finally arrived and didn't realize the sudden operation. She appeared and went towards where Mu Jin and Gang Yi were fighting. Pil-do, who saw that Hae-jin was already ahead of him, of course, made Pil-do speed up his running to catch up with Hae-jin. Up there, Hae-jin tries to save Mu Jin, and without Hae-jin realizing it, Pil-do also followed her from behind. In their fierce fight, finally, Gang Yi stabbed Mu Jin many times until Mu Jin was seriously injured. But before carrying out the final fatal attack, Hae-jin blocked him with gunfire and pointed his gun at Gang Yi. Mu Jin took this opportunity to escape. And now Gang Yi, who is cornered, is trying to provoke Hae-jin's anger by threatening to reveal everything to the police so that Hae-jin's cover will be exposed. This made Hae-jin angry, and of course, Hae-jin shot her gun at Gang Yi and made him fall to the ground. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Pil-do witnessed Hae-jin's action of shooting Gang Yi. Meanwhile, Mu Jin, who was cornered at gunpoint by Cha Gi-ho, finally managed to escape thanks to Tae-ju, who arrived on time. Furthermore, Mu Jin, who is still alive, managed to survive after being helped to escape earlier by Tae-ju. He stopped in a place quite far from police surveillance. Then Tae-ju lowered it and gave him a cell phone that was safe from tapping. Tae-ju also gave Mu Jai a gun complete with bullets just in case. As seen, Mu Jin's ultimate goal is to go to the temple on the mountainside, and he was treated by a monk there. During treatment, Mu Jin was reminded of his sadistic days when he was in the organization. Meanwhile, Hae-jin is currently not in good condition, because her act of shooting Gang Yi was her first murder and made her suffer from anxiety. Hae-jin is haunted by the shadow of Gang Yi and feelings of guilt after the killing. Then Pil-do, who knows Hae-jin's condition, now tries to go to her house and share a drink. Pil-do went into Hae-jin's house, but he was a little surprised because there was nothing in Hae-jin's house. They told each other. Hae-jin explained that in the past, Gang Yi tried to rape her by putting drugs in her drink. Pil-do finally understands why Hae-jin is so emotional about Gang Yi. That's not only Hae-jin's reason, but she's afraid that Gang Yi will blow her cover. Then Pil-do tried to cheer up Hae-jin because he knew Hae-jin shouldn't be alone and motivated her to find some hobbies to make her life happier, and invite her to see the sea another time. At the temple, when he woke up, Mu Jin immediately got up and looked for the monk. They greeted each other. It seemed like they already knew each other. The monk told Mu-jin to rest and stay for several days. Later at the police station, Captain Cha and his team are discussing Mu-jin's escape route. Captain Cha assumed that Mu-jin would have to treat his wounds, so he definitely wouldn't be able to be far from the places he appointed. In the morning, Hae-jin received an envelope package from Gang Yi. It seemed that Gang Yi had sent the letter before he was about to escape by ship yesterday. The envelope contained a photo of a police officer. Where is Hae-jin's father in the photo? It's just that in the photo Hae-jin's father uses the song name Jun-soo. Of course, this made Hae-jin wonder. Hae-jin was determined to find out the truth, and she went to the temple where Mu-jin was recuperating. Hae-jin asks about the truth about the photos Gang Yi sent. There, Mu-jin explained and confirmed that Dong-hun, Hae-jin's father, was a police officer, but he preferred to betray the police and change his loyalty to the Mu-jin organization as explained by Mu-jin previously. As we remember, Mu-jin once said that Hae-jin's father, Dong-hun, had saved Mu-jin's life. Hae-jin also believes in Mu-jin. She also understood why her father had been living on the edge and couldn't contact her. Mu-jin reassures Hae-jin that her father is dedicated to life and death as a member of the organization. This makes Hae-jin wonder why Mu-jin didn't tell her from the start. Mu-jin also reasoned that all this was because he wanted Hae-jin to have confidence and find out for herself who killed her father. This was a lesson he had tried to instill in her all this time. According to Mu-jin, Captain Cha Gi-ho was the one who killed his father because he couldn't accept Dong-hun's betrayal. Meanwhile, Pildu remains determined to find and stop Mu-jin whatever happens. The Pildu arrived at the temple where Mu-jin was hiding, but the monk was not honest and protected Mu-jin. The monk said that no one would go to the temple in winter. After looking around for a while, he finally decided to leave. Then, Pildu met Captain Cha Gi-ho, who was drinking saju. Captain Cha expressed his frustration because he couldn't find a bright spot. Pildu also convinces Captain Cha that one day they will be able to catch him. After Hae-jin's arrival, Mu-jin began to doubt Hae-jin's ability to pull the trigger and kill Cha Gi-ho. Then he even assigned Tae-ju to kill the police captain. Of course, Tae-ju will do that. Hae-jin is now also preparing to go to Captain Cha's house. Then, Pildu took Captain Cha back to his house. On the way home, Pildu almost ran into Hae-jin, but he didn't realize it. It didn't take long. Tae-ju finally appeared at Cha Gi-ho's apartment that night and stabbed him multiple times. However, Cha Gi-ho was able to retaliate by stabbing Tae-ju with a broken bottle. Tae-ju quickly tried to escape and sneak away from that place just as Hae-jin appeared at Cha Gi-ho's apartment. Cha Gi-ho still entered using his bare hands to get inside even though he saw blood on the doorknob and was still determined to find out the truth. Seeing someone coming in, Captain Cha opened fire as soon as Hae-jin was inside. However, the shot missed him. Pildu, who heard the gunshots, was nearby and immediately returned to Cha Gi-ho's room. Captain Cha thought Hae-jin was the one who stabbed him, but Hae-jin immediately asked why he killed her father. And finally, Captain Cha now knows the fact that Hae-jin is Jae-woo, Dong-hun's daughter. Captain Cha, who was dying, weakly took an envelope and gave it to Hae-jin. Just then, the dew pill appeared. When he breaks in, Hae-jin escapes out the window and back into her car. And finally, the truth about Hae-jin's father began to be revealed. In her car, Hae-jin starts reading every article that is in the envelope that Cha Gi-ho gave her. Then we are shown a flashback of how Jae-woo's father was caught by Mu-jin. Hae-jin, or Jae-woo's father, is an undercover policeman and gives Mu-jin a gold lighter. Unbeknownst to Mu-jin, the lighter has a tracking device in it. The tracking device was discovered perhaps accidentally after using it to beat one of his subordinates in the office when the tracking device was thrown on the floor. Mu-jin was angry and realized that there was a traitor in his organization. To make matters worse, Mu-jin also found a typewriter and many reports were sent back to the police. At that point, Mu-jin finally finds out that Dong-hun is a police officer. From all these stories, it can be concluded that before his death, Jae-woo's father was a policeman who was still loyal to the Korean police. Cha Gi-ho even has the last letter from his father, which reinforces the fact that Jae-woo's father was a police officer. In the letter, Dong-hun's final goodbye was written to his daughter Jae-woo. Jae-woo was frustrated with the truth that was revealed. Jae-woo now finds herself in despair and shaken by what she has done so far in vain and feels lied to. All this time, Jae-woo lived side by side with her father's killer without her realizing it. Namely Cho Mu-jin, the person she always wanted to protect and trust, turned out to be the person who hurt and betrayed her the most. She even stopped the car because she was having a panic attack. After the panic attack had subsided somewhat, she was determined to get rid of the organizational marks that Mu-jin had given her. Jae-woo also took a lighter from the car to remove the tattoo on her chest.